Hello, gentlemen. Today we're going to talk about the patch that is now live on College Football 25. So there's actually quite a few changes in here, and I'm only going to cover the gameplay changes. But if you're interested in, dynasty changes as well as cosmetics, all that kind of stuff, I'm going to post the link to the patch notes in the description as well as the comment section. So go ahead and read those changes for yourselves. Okay, let's get into it. So the first bullet point is going to be mentioning how there's 8 new shotgun formations to a total of 35 teams. If you guys are interested in the formation names as well as the teams that have them, just go ahead and read that entire chunk. I'm not going to go through and read every single word of that. Now, the second thing they included here is actually a very big deal. This was one of the biggest complaints that people had about the game so far. And they say tuning and logic enhancements to pursuit angles introduce new behavior that further differentiates players with high pursuit ratings versus low pursuit ratings. So this was definitely one of the biggest issues in the game. A lot of people, including myself, were not a fan of how defenders would just take very poor angles against ball carriers, and they've at least made the attempt to improve it. I don't know for sure just how much better it is, or if it only affects players with, high pursuit. We'll find out soon, but the main thing is they've at least acknowledged that the pursuit was an issue. The next point is going to be reduced frequency of broken tackles from trailing defenders. Now, this was actually incredibly common. It didn't matter who the ball carrier was. It could be a quarterback scrambling. If there was a defender who was behind the ball carrier and they got their hands on him, the chances are that player was going to break that tackle and keep running. So that's definitely a good change as well. I feel like Jalen Milroe was a big culprit of that. I feel like I was chasing him constantly, and if I got hands on him, it just didn't matter. He was just going to break it. So I'm a big fan of this change as well. Next, we have a couple changes for you custom playbook users. We have these 2 points right here, fix an issue where you cannot use 4-2-5 or 3-3-5 formations in a custom playbook. I've had so many comments about custom playbook issues, and this was definitely one of them. People trying to add like 3-3-5 penny or whatever to a custom, and hopefully that's fixed now because I just feel like custom playbooks are always an issue. And then the second one here is fix an issue where single back formations would be assigned the wrong name when creating a custom playbook. So I'm going to get through the next few of these kind of quickly. I'm just going to read them off. Adjusted AI offensive line behavior resulting in less illegal man downfield penalties during RPO style plays. This was definitely happening on some RPOs where the offensive line was getting 5+ yards down the field before you had the chance to pass. Next, we have adjusted the DB's ability to more effectively shed blocks on the perimeter. This is something that I personally wasn't experiencing too much. I would say maybe on specific plays like jet touch passes, Wildcat, it was a little bit more of an issue, but overall, I wasn't having an issue, but this is probably a good change as well. These next few points are very big in regards to scrambling quarterbacks. So I'm going to read all of them and talk about them in tandem because they all affect each other. So first, we have increased the speed penalty for running out of stamina during the play. So that's going to happen with quarterbacks scrambling behind the line of scrimmage. Quarterback scrambles behind a line of scrimmage will lose stamina at a faster rate. And then fix an exploit where players would leave a quarterback contained player unblocked and run around them. And they say that they're going to make further improvements to quarterback contain in a future title update. So it's very clear they wanted to address people who are kind of spamming running with guys like Milroe or any mobile quarterback and manipulating their blocking to kind of get it so contains don't really do their jobs. So either double teaming the contains or letting the contain run free and then running around them. That was definitely a thing. Like good players were definitely manipulating the blocking like that. And they have actually made quarterback contains better. Like I couldn't believe it. Somebody told me that quarterback contains were good. And I'm like, there's just no way. They've never fixed quarterback contains ever in Madden. And, I checked it in practice mode earlier and I do think that they're better. I don't think that they're perfect. And there's definitely still ways to, double team them and stuff like that. But overall, this is the best contains have looked in a very long time. The next point that I want to talk about is going to be this one right here. Increase the reward players receive for shading inside or outside correctly in man coverage versus passing routes. So I assume this is exactly how it reads. If you think that they're running a corner route or something and you shade outside on that player or shade out your entire defense, those outwards breaking routes are going to be covered better. I haven't tested this yet, but I assume that's what they aimed for. And then this next one right here, adjusted false start chances when you make pre-play adjustments late in the play clock. This was one that drove me nuts, to be honest with you. You can make a hot route with 6 seconds left and, you just get a false start. Like this would just happen randomly. And for those of you who are like simulation, I'm sure, it wasn't an issue to you. But if you play competitive, it's very frustrating because sometimes you just don't have a lot of play clock to work with. The next couple things are going to be Wildcat changes, so these two right here. Fix an issue where run-fit defenders were not responding as effectively to Wildcat run plays. This was definitely a thing. I don't know why run-fit defenders were just worse against Wildcat, but they were, and it was one of the reasons why defending that formation is such a pain in the ass. The second one is going to be made an adjustment to the Wildcat unbalanced motion zone play. So this was a play that was in like the Oregon playbook, the Kansas playbook, and they've just completely removed it. I don't know why they say made an adjustment. They removed the play straight up and they replaced it with a play called blast. So if you are in the Oregon playbook, or you were a fan of the play motion zone, I do have bad news for you. It is no longer in the game. So I'm going to read these last few ones and then we're going to move on to the ability section. But this one here is going to be reduce the effectiveness of multiple laterals in a single play. They've also adjusted the thresholds required to receive the most effective juke and spin moves, which are definitely the two best skill moves in the game. We have adjusted press animations to be more of an effective counter to the takeoff ability. Takeoff is definitely one of the best abilities in the game. If you pressed somebody who had gold or platinum takeoff, they were just going to completely cook you. So I hope that this is definitely better now. And then lastly, we have updated pass protection mechanic to only include the running back in the protection if they are already on a block or block and release assignment. So if you use, like for instance, half slide and your running back was on a wheel route, if you use half slide, it changed him to a block and release, but now it's going to just kind of leave him on his route. And if you want to put him on a block and release or block him, that's going to be up to you now. Next, we have the ability section, and they definitely made some big changes here. So the first one is actually just going to be a UI change that was very good. And it's updated the coloring of platinum tier abilities to further distinct the look versus silver abilities. So I'll show you guys a screenshot so you can see what these platinum tier abilities look like now. They're kind of purplish and they're very different from silver. And beforehand, it was definitely confusing. Like I had no idea if a certain player had platinum or silver. You had to look very, very hard. And gold and bronze aren't too confusing either. They're pretty distinct. So that was a good UI change. The next one is a very big deal. So rebalance the gold and platinum tiers of the juke and spin abilities like 360 and sidestep. So I'm sure many of you have seen the clips with like Judkins where, his 360 spin was just absolutely insane. You would get this crazy speed boost coming out of the spin, and it was just very arcadey and cartoony. It was just dumb. And they have definitely made it worse. I tested this one beforehand, and you just really don't get that boost anymore. You can still make computer defenders miss and stuff with it. It's still like decent, but it's definitely nowhere near as OP as it was. And then same with sidestep. And then next we have rebalanced the platinum tier of the extender ability, which includes not firing on quarterback design run plays. And then lastly, this is a big one, slightly rebalance the effectiveness of the gold and platinum tiers of the quick jump ability. Additionally, we have made adjustments to the tier levels found on the Texas front 7. So unless you're in the competitive community, you probably have no idea just how OP that Texas front 7 was. They had 6 players that were gold or better with quick jump. And quick jump is definitely one of the best abilities in the game. It makes every single blitz in the game much better. And people were running formations like 6-1 with 6 quick jumps, and it was like impossible to block. It was just ridiculous. So they've now taken out, I believe, 4 of them. I think there's only 2 players that have gold or better, and that's how it should be. So that's going to be it for the gameplay changes. Let me know in the comment section if you guys think this is a good patch, or let me know if they left something out that they should have addressed. But anyways, that's it for the video. I'll be back to posting tips tomorrow. I'm actually going to post a mini scheme, so be on the lookout for that tomorrow afternoon.